everyone, and welcome to another special episode of Loss of Lieutenant. This is episode number 115, and we are talking about S5 Super Heavy Infantry. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm joined by fellow host Nick and special guest Jordan. Welcome back to the cast, Jordan. How are we all today? Say hi.
Doing well.
Hey, yeah, not doing too badly. Busy day. Thanks for having me again. I'm ready to be yelled at by certain people after this.
Good. Well, it might come as a disappointment to all of our listeners from last week that this will not be a tier list. This will be kind of maybe a back to basics style where we talk about how these super heavy infantry will be, well, I like to coin a super heavy infantry, those S5 heavy infantry fit into the game as kind of like a not tag / actual tag. But first things first, I think we should have a chat about our challenge. So our quarter 3 challenge, the Loss of Lieutenant Custom Mission Challenge 2024. Do you want to have a chat about this one, Nick?
Sure. So our first custom mission challenge of 23 was quite successful, and even with some of our listeners getting their missions into the official ITS pack or the ITS 15 pack. So because of this, we're going to do it again. I enjoyed it. You all seem to enjoy it, so let's get the creativity going again. This year, listeners may submit up to 2 custom missions each. Additionally, if you submitted a mission in the previous custom mission challenge and would like to submit an updated version, feel free to add that as well. Please let us know if you intend your mission to be a competitive mission or a narrative mission. I plan to split those out in the document once we have it all formatted. Once the challenge ends, we'll edit, format, compile them all into a single document, and put them out to the wider Infinity community. We'll pick our favorites and run a custom mission tournament here in Melbourne sometime next year. Additionally, what would custom mission challenges be without some playtesting? So for the second part of our custom mission for our second part of our quarterly challenge, we would like to hear about your play experiences using custom missions. What interesting mechanics did you like? What interesting mechanics did you break? Let us know. Please submit your entries to lossoflieutenant@gmail.com, and one random winner from each will be selected from each quarterly challenge.
Absolutely. And I'm very much looking forward to this. I look forward to custom mission challenges every year. Well, this will be the second year running, so every year. I put one in last year, and Nick, you were so kind to review it and be so gracious about it, even though it was crap. But yeah, very, very much
even
excited.
if the missions are not to your own liking, if they have some unique mechanic in there or some interesting take on how to run a mission, toss them in, we'll put them in, and someone may look at it and get inspired, and we'll get a good mission out of it after all.
Please, everybody, do a attack and defense siege style mission where your deployment zone is the center of the table and the outsides of the table. I think that would be great. Anyway,
there's a narrative category now, so
there is a narrative category. And some upcoming events. We have Burn City Brawl, which is the major 2-day tournament here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. It's the 7th and 8th in North Coburg, Victoria, at the gaming arena. It is 300 points. The missions are Supply Raid, which is a aforementioned LoL custom mission, which you can now find on Comlog under the Bromad custom mission section. It's not the version we'll be playing at Burn City Brawl, because we've just added a QAZ creature to make it in line with ITS 15. Highly classified, decapitation, looting and sabotaging, and supremacy. See the Facebook event for more details. We've talked about the missions with all of everybody in here already. We don't need to rehash our love or hate for these. That's fine. And finally announcing, again, second announcement for this one, Pimp My List for BCB 2024, which is a mainstay for us here at Lost of Lieutenant. We like to do for 2-day tournaments in Australia, to do a Pimp My List. So if you've got a list that you want pimped, and for us to review them and make make some changes, whether you think they're good or bad to them, send them through to lostoflieutenant@gmail.com by the 9th of August, which might even not be. Yeah, I'll get this episode out in time to have your list featured in the episode. We love doing it. It's one of our favorite things to do coming up to a tournament. So very much looking forward to pimping some lists. Hopefully, I'm going to get, because we had some feedback regarding our efforts in pimping some Pan-Oceania lists. So I think I might include a shout out to Rob Ketcher.
Yes, we may have
everyone?
been called out on another cast.
YouTube channel, popular YouTube channel.
Yes.
In some places, being told you have white dog shit for brains is a compliment.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
basically, none
We'll
of
be
us
getting a
currently
special
play
guest.
Pan-O, so apparently our takes on Pan-O may not have met the standards of some other people who do play Pan-O. So we will work our best to try to drag in some Pan-O players and get their opinions on the lists.
Yes, and if we deem that there's going to be some other factions that might need a little bit of a specialist touch, we might pre-record some special guests input into it and see if we can't get some proper input in here with these ones. So Pimp My List 2024 coming to your ears soon. All right, shall we get into the main topic here today, which is S5 Super Heavy Infantry? Fantastic. I think we should have a talk about what they are. What are they?
So S5 Super Heavies, they are heavy infantry. They are on S5 bases. Start with that. They fit in an interesting space in between the S2 heavy infantry and tags. So a lot of times they'll have access to some pretty substantial firepower. I think they're all at least 2 full wounds, and some have NWI on top of that. Most of them are starting at 5 armor and going up from there. BTS is a little bit more hit and miss on them, but they kind of fill a role in they're a bullet sponge, but they're also a weapons platform. They can be a mini tag. Though probably the best way to start looking at them would be to compare them to the two types of models they bracket, which would be the S2 heavy infantry and tags. So comparing them, advantages over S2 heavies, usually they've got better firepower. They've got BS attack plus something often, and not just shock, but like +1 burst or +1 damage, or a combination of them. They are also better at body blocking, but that's just they're larger. They can block an entire doorway by themselves. Disadvantages: they tend to have worse link options. Obviously, they're S5, so they're slower to get around corners because they have to move more of their base out further to get around a corner. And they're typically harder to hide. Though they're not that much taller, so they're not too much harder to hide.
Generally speaking, they are a little slower than heavy infantry as well, because I think off the top of my head, most of them are 4/4. So it means that, like, getting around corners, especially, it can be difficult for them in their first movement. I think the one that jumps out as not being 4/4 is the prime.
I'd say most of them.
Well.
The Kaitok as well. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of them are. Or the average movement is closer to 4/4 than to 6/2. whereas a lot of heavy infantry, right, is closer to 6-2 average than 4-4 average.
Yeah.
Which, you're right, then further disadvantages them for when they have to zig and zag around obstacles.
Yeah, and that 4-4 movement hurts a lot more on that S5 base because, as you said, when you're taking a corner, it's a lot
Yes.
harder to get that full movement. Unless, of course, you just surf, which a lot of people do, because movement is one of the something that you see a lot of very generous corner cuts happen on.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, how competitive are you playing the game?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
comparing them to, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yep. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So comparing them to tags, they tend to be cheaper, though not always. Tend to have better link options than the tags, and one of the notable problems with the tag, uh, they can go S5s can go prone. So if things don't go their way, they can just drop out of line of fire, whereas tags have to figure out how to gut into full cover that is taller than them. Disadvantages versus the tag, they tend to be less resilient, though as you'll see with some of them, not there is overlap in toughness. They also tend to have less breadth of their individual firepower. So while they may have more profile options, they tend to have less backup weapons, and they tend to have fewer multi weapons. So while most mainline tags will have that chain rifle or heavy flamethrower as a backup weapon, um, you're usually looking at one weapon and maybe a pistol.
Yeah. The other thing as well is that, despite everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, you also, much like you do with regular S2 infantry, you get like a breadth of choice in terms of like what the profiles do. Not and unlike a tag, they're not just for killing things.
Yes.
You get these S5 heavy infantry that can do a lot more different roles in terms of like being a corner guard, being able to fork AROs, just all sorts of stuff like that.
Yes.
I think that we've been starting to explore recently some interesting design change with them. Sort of not recently. More with the Kaitok. And we'll get into this later, but they do like S2 heavy infantry and like tags. They are starting to explore this very wide range of points costs as well. So, which brings to your point, pretty effectively with their changing roles.
Yes.
Yeah,
CB getting weird with profiles is a good thing because it means you get
absolutely.
stuff like the Stigmata out of it, or like the Kaitok, where you get this weird sort of breadth of ability that isn't entirely focused in shooting number big.
As
Yes.
opposed to CB not getting with profiles, and
Yeah.
then you get the Mechazoid Sarangatai.
Spot the JSA player.
Reset the counter to 0. Um, yes, good.
Yeah.
So there's
So,
differences.
since one of the main advantages they do have over tags is that option to link, whereas tags might get a duo, a rare tag gets a Harry's. A lot of S5 heavy infantry can get into a Harry's or possibly a core. So because of that, I thought we'd look at this in terms of their home sectoral for the S5 heavy infantry. We can also talk about them in kind of vanilla, but I think their home sectoral will give a better feel for the multitude of options you can have when you start to toss them into links.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, like,
Mm.
happy to chat to think about them individually as well
Mhm.
as in Herises and stuff. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's jump into the meat, shall we? Starting with everybody's favorite Pan Oceania.
Woo!
Yeah, yay,
One of these episodes we're going to
yay.
surprise everyone, just flip the order backwards and start with
Yeah,
number 12.
but
That
we
would
should.
actually break some people's minds, it feels like.
It's like lining
Some
up in
people. Some people started at the top of the army list when they decided what faction they were going to play, and they stayed at the top. So they'd be.
Reading is a struggle, and I'm not reading any more than I already have.
I was elected to lead. They're like the meme of that guy who's like concentrating really hard, has veins popping out of his heads and stuff like that. When we decide to go flip the script on and do O12 first, they're having to sit through the entire episode, concentrate through the entire episode just to get to Pano. Or we should put them in a random generator and just spit out whatever. Randomize the order of the slides. There we go.
No.
No.
That will break my brain.
Yes, it would. Maybe I'll do it just before an episode, just to make you suffer. Pano, and because we're starting with Pano, we're going to go in alphabetical order. And we're going to start with the Boig soldier. Shout out to Nick for putting in the correct, whatever you call that accent on the O. I don't know.
Well, thank you, because I haven't figured out how to actually do them in Google Docs, so it has to be figure out how to insert the character in Word, then copy it over to the Google Doc. Then
I had to always copy it to like a notepad because otherwise it would drag the formatting with it as well.
Yes, it does. It does. So we have Boig soldiers. They are spec chain troops, move 4/4, CC 19, ballistic skill 14, Fizz 13, whip 12, armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds. S silhouette 5, strangely enough, considering the meat of the episode, and availability 2 in Valheimer Winter Force. They have an equipment, ECM hacker -3, and some special skills, ballistic skill +1 burst, dodge +3, dodge +1 inch, immunity shock, and terrain total. They have 2 weapon loadouts. The first one is a missile launcher, heavy pistol shock CC weapon, costing 1.5 SWC and 47 points, and a Mark 12 with a heavy pistol and a shock CC weapon, costing 0 SWC and 47 points. Max Link is Haris. Are they full core viable? No. They are duable as pure, and they don't have a pure link in terms of getting to that at least +3 discover. Boigs. Bring out your Boigs. No one plays them. Everybody loves them.
It's a burst 3 missile launcher and a Harris. That's really attractive. How to actually build a Harris with them in it gets complicated because they're in the elite expensive troop Harris.
Yeah, the Winter Force beta fire team.
Yeah.
The other issue as well is that if you're looking for the magical Christmas land of your burst 3 missile launcher is that you're going to be shooting it at cracking some kind of super heavy. So like a tag or something tag adjacent, like you're not going to be using it on like a random core link. The problem is though you're only in a Haris, and you're going to have to move to get into range, and then you're also going to have to shoot the thing, and then you're running the risk of any of the retaliatory fire. Having to move the Haris up is also rough, and then you also need to end up asking yourself, why am I building a 3-man link to crack heavies when I have a Yodam in my faction?
Yeah.
And Liang Kai.
Liang Kai is huge. Yeah. I personally, if I was gonna play a Borg, I'm gonna play the Mark 12, and I feel pretty comfortable saying that.
Oh
yeah, it's like a mini HMG when you pop it in a link. Like, I mean, it's it's burst 4 Mark 12, still damage 15.
Burst 5.
In
a link, it's burst 5. Yeah.
And then you can do stuff like tack on a Blade Ops or tack aware, and someone to reset it if it gets turned off. Although I think, even though it has whip 12, so it can be perma-bricked, it's probably one of the more resilient S5 Heavy Infantry with BTS 6 and ECM Hacker -3.
Yeah.
It has that really nice armor sweet spot of 5/4 as well, so AP only gets it down to 3 instead of 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I think most of them sit around 5. If I'm gonna put my memory hat on.
I can hope so.
Yeah, well, you mean you strap enough armor plates on things to make them taller. Surely armor 5 must be the thing. I think they sit at a solid fine.
Yeah.
they're, they're good. I think they have some place. I would really like to see people bust them out because I think that would be interesting. I've done a lot with a Mark 12. They just they surprise you sometimes, underranging certain weapons, and bringing that high damage without breaking the bank on SWC. So if you're
I think
taking hacker heavy or something like that, a Boyd might just slot in really nicely.
I think the Blade Ops might give this an option to be reapproached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have like one person who's been playing Speluntimer in our meta, and he's sort of focusing mostly on the Jotun, which is perfectly reasonable.
That's kind of the poster child.
Yeah, he's perfectly reasonable to be focusing on the Jotun when it comes to Sval. So yeah, I think that it's just one of those things that needs to be looked at a little bit more, and some dedicated mainstays need to be need to
Reevaluation.
try it out. Like that Mark 12 profile shines in 150.
Yes.
Beautiful in 150
Yeah.
points or 200 points. Fantastic.
I think part of the collective issue with it is that if you're going to build that Haris team of like Borg and Blade, like on its own, that's already 70 points for 2 guys.
Mhm.
And then you've got to add the third dude in. And you're not, and then if you even want to play the missile launcher at that point, like you're really going to have to look and go, if I'm going to use this as an ARO piece, do I really want to risk my 47 point elite heavy infantry, or
Yeah.
do I just want to stand up and like Fusilier with a missile launcher and say, well, good luck, buddy. You'll either live or die.
Yeah, if you're running a missile launcher as an arrow, you're better off just running the Fusilier because Link Team bonus will get it up to the BS14 or BS15.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I think the boy is more attack.
Yeah.
And looking at the other options for wildcarding in, if you're going to have it as an attack, as like a Harris that's moving up the field with the Mark 12 to get in good range bands, you could do something like drag along Shkoda, or if you just really want to go for the cheapest of cheap, you could put in Agnes.
Yeah. That's a specialist.
And
I guess it's
yeah,
fun.
Specialist with good quotation Pano whip of 13.
yeah,
Or or gunner if you want extra tack aware and that and some berserking.
yeah.
Obviously he's not cheap, but might be a bit.
There's a collective of like interesting link teams you can build, but most of them come out to the same cost as the tag, so you need to sort of evaluate what your list is trying to do.
And if you are just, playing fun games with fun toys, do whatever you like. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might be cool. Notably, it doesn't have NWI as well, so it's just a vanilla 2 wounds.
Yep. I think NWI is the exception generally, not the rule for these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next in the Pano, or second and last but not least, is the Knight of the Holy Sepulchre, whose home sectorial is, of course, military orders. They don't have a link because they have Holo Projector. The Equestrian Order of the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre are Move 4/4, CC 22, Ballistic Skill 14, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 9, 2 wounds, and they are AVA 2 in military orders, which is something that is wholly underutilized. They have a Holo Projector stapled onto them, especially special skills, ballistic attack +1 damage, CC attack +1 damage, immunity shock, natural born warrior, religious troops, stealth, surprise attack -3, and veteran. Knights of the Holy Sepulchres have 3 profiles attached to them. They have a quote-unquote vanilla one at 49 points with a multi-marksman rifle +1 burst. They have the same heavy pistol and shock CC weapon. They have the same one with chain of command stapled onto them for 53 points. And then for 56 points and 1 SWC, you get an AP heavy machine gun and NCO, which is quite nice, considering that military orders has access to a lieutenant +1 order trooper. These guys are great.
Yes. And I mean, who needs the Harris when you bring Me, Myself, and I by Hollow Projector? And they even bring the +1 burst.
Yeah, bringing naturally +1 burst is good. Like, it's one of, correct me if I'm wrong, outside of the tags, it's one of your few sources of like good AP in military orders as well.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a lot of like Spitfires and Red Furies.
Yeah,
Well,
it's just also flat out so hard to kill.
Yep.
and this comes back to talking about like this is tag level firepower.
Yeah.
It's a +1 damage AP HMG BS14.
Yep. It's an S6. It's very close to some S6 tags.
Yes. Yeah. This is kind of the not even the baseline. That's pretty solid tag. Like it's not multi, but
Yeah, it's above
Yeah.
rate for an S6 tag, where a lot of them do tend to be ballistic skill 13.
the one thing that always catches me on this is the surprise attack, because it is the slowest equestrian model in the game, and I just don't think of like this tag level heavy as having surprise attack. But with Hollow Projector, you get the surprise attack, you get suppressive weapon shenanigans.
Yeah, it's quite good.
It's very good.
It's very good.
It's also incredibly difficult to deal with if you don't have access to high power and AP cracking. So if you armor cracking, if you don't have good ballistic skill, or you don't have like visual mods or something like that, these are incredibly difficult to shift. CC22 and Natural Born Warrior make it just a surprisingly decent thing to deal with in terms of with CC attack, which is what a lot of.
He will absolutely just punch sometimes. It's
He
only
will
a
just
shock
punch
CC
sometimes.
weapon, but yeah.
Does it really? Heavy pistol as well. Like
Heavy pistol as well, yeah.
Well, the shock CC weapon and heavy pistol are the same. They might as well not be there. Heavy pistol's a shock damage 14. That shock CC weapon is shock damage 14. So may as well not be there.
Yeah, that's a weird distinction to make for that profile.
Yeah, it's odd. The heavy pistol is one
No,
more
the heavy-
damage
yeah, heavy pistol's
because
damage.
it's CC attack +1 damage. So you never want to use the shock CC weapon.
Yeah.
You're always using the pistol. They're also just difficult to hack because they're BTS 9 and veteran.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One thing that I forgot to add in the differences between S5 Heavy Infantry, S5 Super Heavies and tags is dodging.
Yes.
Yep,
S5 Heavy Infantry usually dodge surprisingly well.
Yeah, at least on their base fizz.
Yes.
Well, the Boyg was dodging on 16s. This guy's dodging on 13s. Sure, you're not getting a lot of movement out of this particular model, but
it's still good to have in terms of like a guy coming around the corner with a flamethrower. You're better off than you would be otherwise.
Yeah.
Basically,
this guy, it does. It definitely does stuff. This guy is your budget, quote unquote budget thing to take when you need some armor cracking and you can't afford a tick belang. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Good old Knight of Holy Sepulchre, never not played. Very good.
Again, it suffers a bit from the sectoral that it's in, with how much of a premium that military orders puts just on lists in general. You don't get to take many nice toys, just because everything is a little more expensive, and especially when you only have access to the one flash pulse bot.
Yeah, well, that's a struggle that a lot of factions face, unfortunately. All right, with that Pano done, let's move on to the orangiest faction, Yu Jing. And first things first, in Yu Jing, we've got the Hatay. Home sectorial is White Banner. Their max link is a core. Ooh, first one of those. Full core revival, yes-ish. Max pure link NA, pure link vial NA. And Nick's put a little disclaimer in with the asterisks. Due to move 4/4 and breaking purity, it's probably best to Haris. But you might want some 6 cents on it at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
The Hatay unit is move 4/4, CC 15, BS 14, Fizz 12, Whip 12, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, S5, and AVA 1 in White Banner. It's got special skills, Immunity Shock, Religious Troop, and Tactical Awareness. It has 2 profiles. The first one is 1.5 SWC and 41 points. It has a heavy machine gun, an assault pistol, and a para-CC weapon, -6. And probably the one that everyone's talking about is the second profile. It brings BS attack guided stapled onto it, a heavy rocket launcher +1 burst, assault pistol, para-CC weapon, -6. It is 1.5 SWC and 37 points. How do we feel about the Hatay, gentlemen?
Oh, just a fucking immaculate unit. Helped White Banner so much.
I mean, I didn't White Banner didn't really need that much help, but
I mean,
Oh.
I already love HRL +1 burst, and sure, guided on top of that, yes, please.
yes, this is in a unique position to say, I BS attack guided you. Do you pass your dodge? Okay, I hit.
Yeah.
Because
Let me
he's on
just check if
20.
I crit.
Yeah, because he's on
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah, no, this model sort of single-handedly has made it so that White Banner players no longer need to sort of look at a Shang-Chi Invincible and go, oof, I kind of need a good gun, but they're so expensive. 37 points gets you tack aware, gets you a pretty good gun in terms of like cracking armor, just because you do get that option of ignoring cover. And it's I think 7 or 8 points cheaper than the comparable Shang-Chi, which helps a lot with points.
I'm just pulling it up now on my phone. A Shang-Chi Invincible with a AP heavy machine gun and tactical awareness is 49 points. So it does has a Timbot -6 firewall. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
One
Also
trade-off with that: the Shang-Chi and Jujax are only BS 13.
Yep, being BS14 is a huge upgrade. BS14 is supreme.
exactly.
If it's going to be the main gun in the link, that can trade off with the lack of core bonus.
It also can link with the Dockerbee, which is your new picture hacker with lots of spotlight. So you can have a very nice little self-contained guided package in White Banner now. So
they really, really cooked with this profile. I'm a really big fan of it. Sort of, it does everything you kind of want at a very. It's in a similar vein to some of the ones we'll come to later, where it's cheaper than a lot of the other comparable S5 super heavies, but it does think like you can see where they've cut down a lot out of the profile, but it just does exactly what you need, and you get to save on points doing it.
it's lean. It's so lean.
You're paying for that S5 base, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you're paying for the armor. Its model is bloody fire too. I wish. I kind of
does it
wish.
have a giant sword?
Why not?
It's a giant para-CC.
Yeah.
It's a giant para-CC weapon. You look at it and you go, you get paralyzed. The only gripe I have about the model is they didn't model the heavy rocket launcher. It would look cool with a cheeky little heavy rocket launcher mounted on its shoulder that goes pew 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 pew. But we can't all have what we want, which is what I wanted out of the Wrecker too. But
yeah,
come
Burst
on,
4 heavy rocket launcher is just so scary. Like that's just
it's so much
horrifying to deal with.
Is it? Yes. There's another one later down in the list that has a pulse burst heavy rocket launcher.
Oh, yes.
Is that right, Nick? And that's your favorite one to
Yes.
use? Yeah, great. Fantastic. These guys are awesome. I don't think there's any reason to harp on about the Hatay any longer than we have to. I'm sure they are plaguing everybody's metas.
It'd be really cool
at the
if they
moment.
were AVA too, because I would run 2 Haris teams with a Hatay leading both of them.
Yeah. That's probably why they're not
Yeah, that's probably
AVA2.
why.
Uh,
Let me commit some war crimes. It'll be fine.
I'm curious if their points would have to go up to make them AVA 2.
Nah.
Well, that would be
fine.
interesting. Yeah, they would. I think they'd probably cop a maybe a 4 to 5 point uh nerf if they went into
CV, don't
AVA2.
listen to these guys. Listen to me. I
Hey,
promise it'll be fine.
listen to me. Hire me as a game designer, even though I don't have any experience. All right, let's move on from the Hatay to everybody's least favorite, the Moang. Moang. Yes. Invincible Army. Home Sectorials Invincible Army. Their max link is a duo. They are not full core viable because they're only duo. They max pure link duo and they don't pure link viable because they don't core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pretty much said if they can only duo, then pure link is moot because there's no pure link bonus until you get to at least parries.
Yeah, this just suffers from the fact that it's in the same sectoral as a better S5 Super Heavy.
Yep. That can link better.
Yeah, it's VS13 as well.
So the Moang is Invincible Army, not in. It's not in the same as any S5, right?
It is.
Oh, it is. This is a later one.
We'll get to it shortly.
Oh, yes, of course, yes. The Moangs are elite troops. They are moved for 4, CC 17, Ballistic Skill 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 Wounds, S5, and AVA 3. Oh, there's 3 of them. Their special skills are Courage, Immune Shock, Mutism -3, No Wound Incapacitation, Stealth, and Terrain Total. They have 9 profiles. However, they are the same 3 profiles repeated 3 times. They are multi-rifle Flammenspeer heavy pistol CC weapon for 1, Red Fury Acrylat Canon for those who don't know, that is the disposable adhesive launcher for the heavy pistol and a CC weapon, and a Spitfire Flammenspeer heavy pistol CC weapon. Those same 3 profiles again with NCO, and those same 3 profiles again as LTs. And they are appropriately costed. 41 points for the multi-rifle Flammenspeer, 43 points in SWC for the Red Fury, 45 points for the vanilla 1.5 and vanilla Spitfire with 1.5 SWC, and then add some
2
points
more for NCO.
2 points more for NCO and minus SWC for taking a lieutenant.
Yes. Actually, that's probably one of the points on them that sets them apart is that discount on SWC. Although, again, you probably have other things you want to make your lieutenant that give you SWC.
Yeah, living in the sectoral, you need to make a really good argument for yourself if you're going to be the lieutenant instead of the Dao Ying, is the unfortunate truth.
Yes, the Dao Ying is the way to go with Invisible Army. I have not ever seen one of these on the table. I have heard that they used to run rings around people in N3. They were a much played troop. I know that our friend and colleague and ex-host Nick Toohill used to love running Moangs. So it would be interesting to see them again. I think that they probably could use a little bit of a shake-up in terms of their link viability. In fact, Invisible Army in general needs a bit of a shake-up in terms of in how to build a in how to modernize the sectorial. But
in that case, because there's another one we'll get to a bit later on that I think needs to have its link options changed, but otherwise is pretty good. If they had a viable Haris and changed nothing else, would you think them more viable?
Yes.
If they had Haris, absolutely. They would be more viable with Haris, yes.
Yes, but it'd be the difference between, like, I'm a 0 to play this to, like, 0 out of 10 to play this to, like, I'm a 1 out of 10 to play this.
I mean...
Okay, fair, yeah.
we were all part of the same group chat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I won't quote him directly, but someone did say there are lots of things that he'd much rather do than play Invincible Army. I'm paraphrasing. Definitely paraphrasing because he was talking about QK. And what he would rather play QK instead of doing. But I would think that I would rather go to do all of those other things than play Invincible Army. Sorry to say, friend and friend of the show, Tero. I know you've done a they've done we've done a good job of unfortunately just tearing apart your boys, but yeah, the Invincible Army just don't quite have what it takes to keep up with some of these more modern sectorials.
Yeah, because like, are you know, even if you could erase them, right? Are you gonna spend 45 points for a 2-wound Spitfire when you have armor
3
2.5.
wound.
weapons?
3 wound.
2.5.
2.5, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, yep, 2.5.
Yeah.
I'm just not. It just there's
Yeah.
so little about this that is appealing.
Yeah, the BS13 as well is the other thing. It's just me.
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
the mimetism at least, which is nice, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not. Like, you have better NCOs, you have better lieutenants, and then the base level profile is like 45 points for a Spitfire is just such a hard sell.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. All right. Next up for you, Jing, obviously the heavy infantry sectorial, bringing the big guns and bringing more super heavy infantry to the table. The Sujan Imperial Home Sectorial's Imperial Service. Please, Jordan, save your gooning
No,
for
I
after I
refuse.
have after I've read the profile, please. Home Sectorial Imperial Service Max Link Duo. They are not full core playable. The Su Jian Immediate Action Unit is a spec trained troop. It has two forms because it has Transmutation Auto. The high mobility form is Move 8-2, CC 9, BS 12, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 6, Structure 2, Silhouette 3, and AVA 3. Brings special skills Climbing Plus, Courage, Dodge plus 2 inches, Immunity Shock, no wind incapacitation, Remote Presence, Terrain Total, and Transmutation Auto. The combat form is Move 4-4, CC 17, BS 14, Fizz 14, Whip 12, Armor 5, BTS 6, Structure 2, Silhouette 5, and shares its AVA, obviously, with the high mobility form. It has special skills BS Attack plus 1 damage, Courage, Immunity Shock, no wound incapacitation, Remote Presence, and Transmutation Auto. It has two profiles. The Sujan with a Spitfire, Light Flamethrower, and Panzerfaust, a heavy pistol and CC weapon, is 54 points, and an SWC, one and a half SWC. My apologies. And the heavy shotgun plus 1 burst and Panzerfaust, CC weapon and heavy pistol, is no SWC and 50 points. These guys are great.
Yeah, single-handedly holding up an entire fucking sectoral.
Except if you refuse to play them.
I
Some
really
people-
just like that it's a unique take on the S5 super heavy, and it gives the ability to finesse how you play them more than most other models.
Oh yeah, it's I mean, excellent.
Yeah. On top of it being an excellent profile.
Yeah. Move when your first move skill says 8, you're having a good time.
Yeah, it successfully bypasses several of the limitations we talked about with this type of troop specifically.
Yeah.
Just by having those two forms. Being able to move that quickly up the board is just fantastic. Unfortunately, that does come with being hackable, but look, you got to kill them around on a rooftop somehow. Like, figure it out and then kill them with your Sujan.
I mean, the fact the sectorial Imperial Service has ninjas, man. The ninjas kill Morans just fine.
Yep. You know what Imperial Service doesn't have though? A good engineer.
Yes. Well,
Sorry,
the engineer get to it.
effective engineer.
The engineer can get to it because it's a 6'4" engineer with no wound incapacitation and whip 15.
Ugh.
Yeah, the Sujan's great. Use them, run them. You will never have more fun than running a Sujan.
It's an immensely powerful model. Like, you will just win games out of nowhere.
I'm a heavy shotgun guy.
I like the heavy shotgun a lot.
Yeah, I think for its mobility, it really doesn't, like, the Spitfire just doesn't feel like the right range for it. But that heavy shotgun,
Yeah.
like, it can 8-2 move and climbing plus, it can get wherever it wants to be.
Yeah.
It wants to be so in your face, and it's
Yes.
just so good at getting there.
The cool thing about the heavy shotgun is that it actually makes the high mobility form very dangerous
Yes.
on its own. Because you're like, oh, I'll take, I've got 2 structure, no incapacitation, and remote presence. I've got loads of wounds to play with. I might as well just, move my climbing plus my 8 inches on top of this rooftop and lay 3 templates across things.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, you didn't change your combat form. Like, I don't need to.
I mean, sure, it's only a strength 15 template.
Not on the it is a strength 15 and
Yeah.
strength 16 on the combat form.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Heavy shotgun's also very good for cracking armor, which Imperial Service lacks.
Get it in within 8 inches, and it's hitting on 20s with damage 16 AP rounds and first 3. There aren't many things that won't scare.
Yeah, and moving 12 inches at a time, pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
And the last one for Yu Ching is the Yan Ho, whose home sectorial is Invincible Army. The max link is Haris, and the other ones are NA. They are Yanho Invincibles, Fire Support Heavy Regiment. Move 4/4, CC 18, BS 14, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 3, 2 wounds, Silhouette 5, and AVA 4 in Invincible Army. Jesus. There are 6 profiles. Bear with me.
Well, special skills are bioimmunity and immunity shock.
Thank you very
so that
much.
BTS 3 isn't as bad as it looks.
Well, it is, because comms attacks are still a thing and don't trigger bioimmunity. I don't believe. Oh my god, I just said something that I could be completely wrong.
Oh my god, if you are wrong about this.
Bear with me, gang. And you know what? I'm going to leave this in just to prove that I can be wrong, and that I will check myself before I
mean, you've been wrong plenty. It's fine.
Like most of my life.
Jesus Christ.
Bioimmunity. Know when making saving rolls. It works against comms attacks.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
I'm thinking of total immunity.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
There we go. 6 profiles on the Yan Ho, so bear with me a little bit. There's a Yan Ho fire team option with multi-heavy machine gun, CC weapon, heavy pistol. Either those two are that way around. For 48 points and 1.5 SWC. A non-fire team option with a hyper rapid magnetic cannon. 48 points and 1.5 SWC. Another fire team option with a missile launcher +1 burst, 42 points, 1.5 SWC. Neurosynetics +1 burst profile with a missile launcher, 45 points and 1.5 SWC. And 2 lieutenant options, one of which is a multi-heavy machine gun, 48 points, 1.5 SWC, and a hyper rapid magnetic cannon for 48 points and 1.5 SWC. Tag.
This is top tier tag level weaponry, just without the +1 damage.
Only profile in the game that has tag weapons, right? That isn't a tag.
Multi-heavy machine gun and the HRMC. Very good. I mean, CB should stop being cowards and give that a fire team option. Burst 6 is no deal. Is no.
The one that I feel like it's missing the fire team option on is the multi HMG lieutenant.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
true.
Like it just feels like that should have the fire team option. I'm not sure why making it the lieutenant forfeits the fire team option.
They probably don't want you getting that extra order to move the fire team forward with your NCOs.
Mhm.
It's some kind. It has to be some kind of just order economy thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be a points thing. AVA 4 is weird.
Yeah, look, if someone wants to like live the dream of having like 2 Yanhos on like the left and right hand side of the board with their neurosynetics missile launchers, fucking power to you. Like, absolutely power to you.
That's 200 points. And all of your SWC.
No, just 2 of them, not 4. Just 2.
4. No, 4.
No, yeah, you put 2 on the left flank, 2 on the right flank.
That's
you
what I
put
thought you
some
meant.
other cheap thing in to make them both Harises,
I would only
and
run.
it's burst 3 and ARO for all of them.
What?
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Neurosynetics is not FTO. Sorry.
No. Yep. Yeah.
It deserves to be FTO though.
It does. But no, I would run like 2 Yanhos and put 1 in either side of the table edge and just go, all right, here's my ARO net. Go nuts.
Yep, you've spent 100 points on them.
I have.
And they're incredibly easy to say, sit down, please.
I have no regrets.
Because they don't have courage.
Yep.
So yeah, good. I mean, these guys are great. The HRMC is probably the only thing. The only worry about running AVA 4 of them would be, how are you going to get 4 of the models?
I don't think I've ever seen 4 Yanhos in the same place before. It does have some immaculate sculpts, though.
They are beautiful. The double missile launcher is one of my favorites. One of my favorite sculpts in the game.
Double missile launcher is gorgeous.
Yep.
Yeah, they're great. They're really good outside of Invincibles as well as like one of your attack piece options in vanilla Yujing.
Yeah, if you can't afford a Blue Wolf, they're great. Don't
let Rob hear you say that.
Well, at that, getting a burst 2 missile launcher into vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good ARO in vanilla is good. Having those options is huge.
The cool thing about the neurosynetics missile launcher is that it's still the same burst as a missile launcher would normally be inactive. So you would be able to be burst 2 and ARO, but also you could take your pot shot with your missile launcher on your BS-14 if you needed to, which I kind of like, to be honest with you. It beggars some plain testing, but it should be pretty
Neurosynetics not having a cost in this very specific case of the Yanho is very cool.
It precisely has a cost of 3 points.
Sure. Not having a cost is in like combat effectiveness.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I took your point literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. Fantastic. Tag when you need not a tag.
Yeah.
He's a very, very good
tag for 2/3 the points.
And 1/5 of the skills. Ariadna. I must admit, I was just quickly reading. I mean, I was reading this through the show notes, and I scrolled down and saw Ariadna at the bottom of my screen. I'm like, oh, are there any in Ariadna? But no, there are.
Yes, there are.
I did think for a second that you were like shit posting, and like I was going to scroll down here. It was like bears.
Bears are a 6, and so are wolves. The first one we have is the Blackjack. They are home sectorial is Yusuf. Max link is Haris. Their max pure link is Haris, and they are pure link viable-ish. They are a Blackjack 10th Heavy Rangers Battalion. They have headquarters troops. They have 2 profiles because they have a battle-ravaged state after their first wound is lost. Their full power is move 4/4, CC 15, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 3, 1 wound, S5 ADA 3. Special skills, courage, dodge, pH equals 9. Immunity shock and transmutation wounds. When they take a wound, they become battle ravaged. Become move 4/4, CC 14, BS 12, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Armor 4, BTS 0, 1 wound. Obviously, they share their silhouette and AVA. Special skills, courage, dodge, pH equals Fizz equals 9, and immunity shock. There's 2 profiles on two loadouts on a blackjack. They have an AP heavy machine gun, chest mines, and a Panzerfaust, heavy pistol and CC weapon for 38 points and 1.5 SWC, and a T2 sniper rifle, submachine gun, and chest mines, heavy pistol, CC weapon for 38 points and 1 SWC.
Yep.
I have slowly warmed to the blackjacks. They're not. I I have played against them in ways that made me look at them as viable to put on the tabletop, not just a write-off.
Yeah, I've seen them harass
Yeah.
with the T2 sniper rifle
Yeah.
in ARO, and you're like, oh man, that's actually scary, and not that many points.
They're definitely the superior of like the pair between the blackjacks and the ratniks for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of that
Yeah.
comes down to the cost.
Yeah.
Well, the APHMG blackjack is 3 points more than the Minuteman APHMG.
Yeah, it is an insanely cheap
Yeah.
APHMG that you can harass.
Yeah, but the Minuteman is
Yeah.
also core linkable, and like full core linkable.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's obviously got their thing. I like how they've got the budget multi HMG package with an AP heavy machine gun and Panzerfaust. You know, how often are you actually going to take those Panzerfaust AROs? How often do you actually take those explosive shot AROs with the tag? Not that many times. So the having the Panzerfaust is quite cool. And budget.
One
Very
thing I
much.
do like about these is, yes, it's a hackable unit whose faction's hacking defense typically is just by not putting hackable units on the table, and it's only BTS 3, but its weapons are some of the longest range in the faction and in the game. So you can put them far enough back to give you like an air gap protection against hacking nets, as opposed to the Ratnik, which we'll get to next. Yeah, I've enjoyed playing against them on the table. The T2 or Burst 2 T2 sniper rifles in ARO are scary.
Yeah.
I've played against a bit of
They're-
USAF, and I would love to put USAF on the table. I'd really like to play them. I think they look like a lot of fun, and these guys would definitely feature heavily in my lists.
Yeah, it's good that both the profiles have equal argument to sort of be as viable as one another, especially due to them being the same points costs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, being so cheap is sort of where the big advantage from them comes in. Like I said,
Yeah.
you take that one wound, it's going to be rough after that. Thank God they're wounds, not structure as well, so you can use all of your like good paramedics on them.
Well, you can wildcard in a 1/1/2.
Yep, exactly. 1/1/2 just shows up, gets
And
battle ravaged, shoot it.
well, and honestly, they're battle ravaged. For a battle ravaged state, it's probably one of the nicest ones.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they don't lose any
Still-
movement. They
still
lose
armor
1
4.
point of ballistic skill, 1 point of phys that they don't care about, 1 point of armor.
Yeah.
And then the BTS goes out the window.
Yeah, but that's Ariadna.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you're playing with BTS 0 anyway. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right.
Big fan. Absolutely big fan. Love
Yeah, I
the
like
blackjack.
the blackjacks. Plus, the model's so cool. I love the T2
It's-
sniper rifle model.
yeah.
Ooh.
I really like the HMG because it's got the big like chunky ammo belt as well.
Yeah, and yeah, he's like holding it. It's really cool.
Yep.
Really. All right, the Rathnik, whose home sectorial is the Tartary Army Corps. They max link is Haris. Max pure link is Haris. They don't have a 4. The Armada 2 Project Rathnik. Move 4/4, CC 16, VS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 6, BTS 3, 1 wound in its full power state. Still at 5 AVA 3. They have a deactivator, which is kind of fun. Special skills: Courage, Dodge, Fizz, Neg 9. Not Fizz, Neg 9. Fizz equals 9. Immunity Shock, Transmutation Wounds. Their battle ravaged state is move for 2. CC goes down to 14. Their ballistic skill goes from 13 to 12. Their fizz goes from 14 to 13. Whip stays the same. Armor drops from 6 to 4. BTS drops from 3 to 0. They have a wound in this state, and they're still at 5. Keep the same deactivator. They gain a skill. They lose transmutation wounds, of course, and they gain dogged. There are 2 loadouts on the Rathnik. They have the first one is cost 50 points and 1.5 SWC. It has an AP Spitfire +1 burst, a Panzerfaust +1 burst, and a Flammenspeer +1 burst. Its melee weapons are an AP heavy pistol, a trench hammer, and a CC weapon. And the second loadout is a heavy rocket launcher +1 burst, heavy shotgun, heavy pistol, trench hammer for 47 points and 1.5 SWC. We're a little bit lower on these guys than the Blackjack, but they do have a heavy rocket launch +1 burst profile, and that AP Spitfire is burst 6 and Haris, so could be fun.
The problem is that Haris gets expensive because they don't have cheap ways to fill it.
Yeah.
And their profiles, while the Blackjack, you can put multiple Blackjacks in and they fill different roles. You could also do it for many less points. The Ratnik feels like it's tough to put more than one of them into a link because it's such a bloated profile.
Yeah.
It's 12 points more expensive, and I don't see enough there justifying spending those 12 additional points on something that, to me, is about as effective as the other one.
It pays for a lot of weapons.
It does.
And it can only shoot so many of them. I mean, even like Trench Hammer, it looks great on the model, but you're CC 16. And
I'm not going to use it.
Using the Trench Hammer as a thrown weapon, but you've got an AP pistol.
I think
I'm not really sure where the Trench Hammer is going to come in as usable.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things about this one is the fact that you've got a Panzerfaust +1 burst and a Flammenspeer +1 burst. However, in a Haris, you're never getting those. Like they can't go above burst 2 because they're disposable.
Yes, you run out.
So you run out before you can load them into to your partner can load them into the thing. So unfortunately, you don't get to maximize the firepower with that +1 burst.
Yeah. And then the problem is, as a solo piece, it's like, again, in ARO, you're not really able to take advantage of it. And if you're inactive shooting a Ratnik and you're choosing to use your Panzerfaust or Flammenspeer, it's burst 2. Burst 2 inactive doesn't feel good.
No.
Well, like the Panzerfaust and the Flammenspeer, I could see use in active as you're trying to cover ground to get in range of for your AP Spitfire.
That's what it's there for sure.
But that brings up another issue with these that kind of touched on with the Blackjack. You're in a faction whose hacking defense is not being hackable. But with the Ratnik, they want to be up close. They want to be in those mid ranges, and that involves approaching the opponent, which can easily walk you into a hacker net. Whereas the Blackjack can sit back.
Yeah. Being in that sort of the Spitfire 24-inch range, man, is a very scary place to exist in.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I think it's the best range band. But
It's a very good range band, but it's
I'm coming.
easy to
I'm coming
navigate.
from I'm coming from JSA where everything has stealth. Yeah, I think it's just it's expensive and um it it it's kind of like, unfortunately it's a bit of a toolbox with its weapons, but it kind of has shitty tools.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's not even like the Pano thing where they open up the toolbox and it's just hammers. This is just a bunch of really shitty looking tools.
Well, no, it's like you get to a socket set and the 10 and the 13s are both gone, and so you kind of have to deal with the fact that you've got a 9 mil socket and a 14 mil socket, and they just quite don't fit anything that you need to do. So you have to stick some fucking blue tack in them to try and get your bolts on and off, which is a very niche thing to say, and I'm sorry that I actually mentioned it, but I thought it was funny. You're kind of just missing some things from the toolbox when you open up the drawer and there's a convenient hole where your wrench should be. So it's it's an odd one. It's an odd one, but it's got a certain charm to it. Burst 6 is something that everyone should try.
Yes.
Even if it is on a BS13 AP Spitfire.
Hey, BS13, BS14, when you're burst 6, it really doesn't make
really
that much
doesn't matter.
difference.
You're crit fishing anyway.
Yeah.
Crit fishing.
It is. Look, it is exactly there for people to go, but burst 6 is good. Yeah, you're fine.
Did you purposely attempt to put a Russian accent on? Burst 6.
No, not really.
Bird.
I think I just defaulted to like my Yilmaz voice.
I need to do WOG for this. Cool. Yep, the Ratnik fully okay. It's
okay. All right then, Stooge.
fine. All right. Now we get to Nick's favorite fan
Josh,
kit.
should you and I just mute for the next 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think we should
just mute and just let Nick give Nick his soapbox.
Look. I think listening to Nick wax lyrical is one of my favorite things to do, so I'm happy to do it. Let's move on to Hack Islam, Nick's little Barekian sandpit, and the first one, which is also just Nick's bailiwick, is the Alpha Seed, whose home sectorial is Rama Task Force. Max Link is a core. Is it full core viable? No. According to Nick, is a Max Pure Link is a duo? Is a Pure Link viable? No. The last risk here. If you go for a Janitary core, go for a pure core. Alpha Seed Regiment is a veteran troop. It is move for 4, CC 17, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 14, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, Silhouette 5, and ADA 3. Special skills are Immunity Shock, Mind Layer, Sixth Sense, and a Veteran. The Alpha Seed has 2 loadouts: Heavy Machine Gun, Grenade Launcher, Smoke Grenade Launcher, Shock Mines, Heavy Pistol CC Weapon for 53 points and 1.5 SWC. And for slightly cheaper at 45 points and 1.5 SWC, we have a Heavy Rocket Launcher plus 1 Burst, Submachine Gun, and Shock Mines. Nick, go for it.
Yeah. So, while they can duo by themselves, they can also be slotted into Janissary cores. They've ignore the first profile. I'm sure there's some place for it, but it is just overbloated with a bunch of active turn weapons that you don't have enough active turns to really use all of them. There are plenty of other, like in faction, there's better smoke grenade launchers, there's better grenade launchers, and at that point, there's better HMGs. However, yeah, niche, but a really nice niche. The HRL plus 1 burst goes with a Janissary to hold down the link and a wild card of your choice. And you get a lovely little BS or burst for HMG. Sorry, burst for HRL. And
we love a burst for HRL.
for the limited skills they have, they are excellent. Veteran on heavy infantry means that you can't isolate them. Worst case, they're reset. If you stack every reset penalty on them, they're resetting on 8. Sixth Sense occasionally comes up in weird places, especially if they're trying to be corner guards, and someone gets cheeky and sneaks around. Mind Layer, as soon as you remember to use it, from personal experience, is lovely. It just puts a random, like, your opponent knows exactly what it is, but it's a shock mine in your DC, and that can be enough to block off an entrance or an exit.
Well, I mean, one way to sort of deal with these guys,
Yeah.
is through a warband or a CC model,
Yes.
and the mine layer and shock mine provides you with that template that you normally wouldn't have.
Yep.
To sort of go, oh, I'm just going to guard my back with a shock mine so Shinobu doesn't just walk in and go and carve me up.
Yep. Yeah, same things. Like, I've had a warband close in and have to stop in line of sight. It's like, okay, I lay a mine down as ARO. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're the model that made me fall in love with heavy rocket launchers.
The model that made me despise rocket launchers is not the Alpha Seed.
HRLs are just sneakily one of the best weapons in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No
I
argument
feel
there.
like people never respect them as much as they should.
I think it's because the burst 2 puts people off of taking them in lists.
Yeah.
They're not quite as powerful as a missile launcher, and that's burst 1 versus burst 2, and got its better range. Well, has longer range. And they HRL share the same range bands as an HMG, and for most things, having twice the burst at the same power or the same damage is better.
Yeah. You really need to stack, one, that link team bonus, and two, that extra +1 burst. Making it like same burst as a Spitfire is enormous.
Yes.
Does
Yes.
how much does Sixth Sense come up in a Haris? And like, it's just got to be gravy and like fantastic, right?
It comes up in weird places, but Sixth Sense usually does.
Yeah.
So, like, surprise attack.
Yep.
If they're on ARO and someone tries to surprise attack them, doesn't happen. Someone trying to sneak around them, they can shoot in the back arc in ARO if they've been shot.
Yep.
I
feel like a model that people will just sort of misplay into because they haven't listened to you when you've explained the profile.
I suppose the sort of the really good thing about them is that you can core them, but you can stop at 3.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
it's got Sixth Sense, so you can stop at 3. You don't need to spend the 30-something points to get an extra model in there just to give it Sixth Sense. So it's basically Val's perfect fire team.
On the Sixth Sense, the other thing it comes up with is they can't be smoke shot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Because they shoot back at full
ballistic
full BS.
Yeah, smoking past them is still completely viable, though, which is important when it comes to stuff that are like ARO pieces like this one can be.
Yes. Yeah, they can be smoked past, but they can't be smoke shot, which means that you can't. Basically, with Sixth Sense, you have to take an honest fight with them.
Yep.
Because anything but mimetism, they're fine with.
Yeah, Alpha Seeds are good. Give them a go. And everyone's scariest one, the Azrael. The home sectorial is Kapu Kalki. Their max link is a Haris. And their max fuel link is a Haris. The Pure Link Bible, not really. Really? Move 4-4. The Special Deterrence Group, Azrael, they're veteran troops. Move 4-4. CC 15-bit, BS 13, Fizz 13, Whip 14, Armor 5, BTS 3, 2 wounds, and AVA 3. They have ballistic skill attack +1 damage, ballistic skill attack continuous damage, dodge, phys equals 11, and immunity shock. Hey, I got that one right. They have 2 loadouts: an AP heavy machine gun with a heavy pistol and a CC weapon for 40 points and 1.5 SWC, and a Feuerback +1 burst, a heavy pistol and a CC weapon for 44 points and 1.5 SWC. Yeah, Azrael.
They're
Great vanilla
scary.
Hackers Land profile.
Oh, like they're scary just as an individual model in vanilla.
Yep,
Absolutely.
The only thing holding back what is otherwise an amazing Harris is the faction it's in.
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've
Sectoral.
been yelled at before for saying that Capu Kalki isn't good, but Capu Kalki are a perfectly fine and viable sectoral that have some very dedicated players who make it known when you do not like their sectoral very much.
Look,
It's
It's fine.
It's an old sectoral. The reinforcements, for the most part, didn't help them, with the exception, I think, of the
Yeah, Burkott.
Burkut, who can wildcard into with an Azrael. But yeah, they didn't get quite the help that like French did.
Yeah, it's
with the reinforcements.
yeah, the Azrael's so good that the fact that it's played as much as it is in vanilla Hack Islam just goes to show exactly how strong of a profile it is.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Azrael is aggressively mid.
Uh-huh.
It's fine.
Uh-huh.
Fine. It's got a big fuck you gun. It's still only BS13.
Yeah, but BS13 in Hack Islam.
It competes so hard with models that are like better and cheaper, because that's what good profiles do. They instead of diluting lists, they tend to concentrate lists towards being focused very much on how many alpha seeds can I fit into, how many not alpha seeds, how many Asawiras can I fit into a list over everything else. Yeah, look, they're great. Azrael's a perfectly reasonable things to put on the table, and you should be happy when you put them on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Continuous damage is a thing that will just... if someone's having a bad day with their dice, continuous damage will fuck their day up.
Oh, just the...
Rolling a 12 on a HRL says what, Josh?
It's a burst 4, damage 15, AP, DA, continuous damage, with one of the best range bands in the game.
Feuerbacks are great.
Love me a Feuerback.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of wish they were in a slightly more playable sectoral, but...
Nick, they're gonna come for you now. Nick, they're coming for you. They're in your walls.
The QK.
The QK players are coming.
Look,
they're gonna tell you about how the Jansen core is just as good as the Morat core.
I have played QK. They are fun to play.
There we go. Okay,
I will absolutely agree with that.
Whoa, Black Betty. In
your wall.
All right. Moving out of Nick's sandpit, his preferable place to be, we are moving into everyone's hated, out of the frying pan and into the fire here with nomads, and we're starting off with the Silverstar Prime at home, the Kreezer Borak.
We have the Silverstar Prime at home. Let's go.
Home sectorial is Tunguska. Their max link is a core. Are they full core viable? Nick says not really. Their max pure link is a duo. and they are not pure link viable. They can't super jump with Hollow Men because they didn't get that with their FTO profile that everything else does. Kriza Borax are a special crisis unit. They're also a headquarters troop. Move 4/4, CC 19, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, and AVA 2, ballistic skill attack +1 burst, courage, immunity shock, mimetism -3, and terrain total. Kriza Borax have 4 profiles. Loadouts. The first one is a heavy machine gun with heavy pistol and CC weapon for 54 points and 1.5 SWC. A Kriza Borak packing a 360 visor, brings a Mark 12 and a submachine gun for 57 points and 0 SWC. We have a lieutenant profile for the heavy machine gun, which is exactly the same points cost, and a lieutenant profile for the 360 visor, which is exactly the same points cost. So no discount. No discounts here because nomads don't know how to have good chains of command. Prime at home, everybody?
I mean, it's just, unfortunately, especially in Tunguska, after all the additions to the faction, it's just so far behind the curve of what Tunguska is sort of doing now.
But burst 6. Heavy machine gun.
Yeah, but
what if I'd like to win games though?
to do that, you have to put it with 2 Hollow Men.
Yeah, and and that's not cheap. Hollow Men aren't cheap.
They're not cheap. They're move 6/2 and super jump, and the Kriza Borak is move 4/4 and not super jump.
Yeah, it is absolutely, it's hamstringing your some of your most mobile units. Yeah, it's just, you're just not sort of getting what you need to get out of it, unfortunately.
And even at that, yes, the Kriza Borak has better weapons, the burst bonus, but it's the same ballistic skill and only 1 point less armor than the Hollow Men.
Yeah.
So
it's that BS13. The BS13 is just, it's just a killer sometimes. Like, you've got the Mim for sure, but it's, I'm just not, it just doesn't speak to me. Like, and it's a 360 visor, and 360 visor is just so many points to put on a model.
Well, even looking at that, to go to the 360 visor, you're going from an HMG to a Mark 12 and a submachine gun, but you went up 3 points.
Yep. Like, what's the 360 visor? Like, how many points is a HMG generally? Like, it feels like almost a 10-point swing of where the profile should be, just because of the 360 visor.
HMGs don't cost that much. It's because they're special weapons. So they're sort of gated behind the SWC rather than the actual points for the model. A base Kusotsu is 10 points or 9 points, and a HMG is 8 points more. With one SWC. So I think the 0.5 SWC swings it back down a few points as well.
The cost is just so bloated, unfortunately.
On these guys, it absolutely is. The 360 visor costs like 4 points, and it's just ridiculous because it's not a useful piece of equipment. What are you using a 360 visor and a Kriza Borak for? Suppressive fire, maybe?
Suppressive fire, yeah, look, Mim 3 and suppressive fire is like a real combination. And then in that case, you're not linking it, but you were already sort of not really incentivized to link it particularly much. It's a bit of a mess. Not a mess. It struggles to find a home in its own sectoral, and it's not going to find a home in vanilla because there are just better options in vanilla.
Like, I'd say it's kind of a okay profile in both a sectorial and a faction that have gotten a lot of new releases that are far better tuned.
Some exceptional profiles.
Absolutely. Prime at home is still a prime at home.
Yeah.
Back onto a newer one, the Penitent Observant. Home sectorial is Bakunin. Max link is Haris. Is it full court Bible? No. Its max Pure Link is a Haris. Is it Pure Link viable? Yes. Penitents are veteran troops with move 4/4, CC 18, BS 13, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 3, 2 wounds, and AVA 3. They have ECM Hacker -3, Immunity Shock, Mutism -3. They are religious troops. There are 3 loadouts: a Red Fury and Emarat with a pistol and a CC weapon. For 1.5 SWC and 37 points. A Red Fury and an EM Grenade Launcher +1 Burst for 41 points and 1.5 SWC. And an AP Spitfire for 40 points and 1.5 SWC. I'm going to be completely honest, I've never seen one of these on the table.
I have neither.
No.
And sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, no, neither have I. I did a little bit of list building with Bakuna when I was going to be playing them, and it's just a case of you just have so many better things to take. Like why are you taking this instead of more Cenobites? Why are you taking this instead of like a Stigmata? Like, it's hard to justify, unfortunately. Like taking Mim 3 in a faction of Mim 6 troops.
Mhm.
And again,
Slapping +1 Burst on an EM Grenade Launcher does not make it a good active turn gun.
no, it doesn't. Especially for 1 point more than an AP Spitfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great.
Well, when I was looking this over for the episode, I was trying to figure out what does it do that isn't done elsewhere in the sectoral. And the only thing I could come up with was Arm 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bakuna
Because
sort of tries to treat mimetism as armor, unless you're like the chaos half with like Riot Girls, because Riot Girls, but Riot Girls aren't particularly armory. They're just fucking painful to try and deal with.
Because Red Fury is easy to come by. EM grenade launchers are surprisingly not that uncommon in the faction. And an AP Spitfire, okay, I think it's the only AP Spitfire, but Spitfires are easy to come by.
Yes.
So, yeah, I couldn't come up with what does this do for the sectoral that isn't already done by something else that does it at the same level or better for cheaper points.
Yeah. What this sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to reiterate. It doesn't seem to do anything for Bakuna.
Yeah, what this profile, I'm putting on a tinfoil hat right now. What this profile sort of says to me is that CB, when they were designing the Bakunin action pack, were like, well, we keep putting these like S5 big boys as kind of like the poster guy on the box. We need to just make an S5 trooper, and they just sort of paint by numbers made something very, very safe and not very outside the box.
You know what? I think I'm inclined to agree with you. My literal thought that was going through my head before you started talking was this profile was just to put a cool model in the box, because it is a cool model. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the model, real nice, and you know, in like what Sirecast,
it is
pretty easy to
Sirecast.
put together. I think they're mid.
Put it next to, if you literally compare like the last 3 action pack releases, you put this next to a Kaitok and a Prime, it looks really bad by comparison.
True, it does. It looks better model-wise, though.
No, absolutely not.
To a Kaitok, yeah, sure.
Yeah, the Kaitok is an immaculate model, and it's metal as well.
Oh, well, that just blows it out of the water. Yeah, look, aggressively mid.
Yep.
For the old penitent, so it's fine. Any Bakuna Trap player who really loves these, get in the chat. Tell me. Get in the comments.
Get in the comments.
Please tell us where you use these and how.
And how, please, because I want to know. I'm never going to play Bakuna.
Please.
I'm never going to play Bakuna to find out. So let's move on to a better Bakunin one. The Taskmaster.
Cool boy.
Home sectorial is Bakunin. Max Link is a core. Are they full core viable? Yes, they are. Their max pure link is a Haris. Are they pure link viable? Nick says no. The Taskmaster's Bakunin Swizzit team. Whatever SWAST means. I'm not going to attempt to. They are veteran troops. They are Move 4 Force, CC 21, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, and AVA 3. Special skills are Courage, Dodge plus 1 inch, Immunity to Shock, Martial Arts level 1, Mind Layer, and Stealth. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 profiles, loadouts of the Taskmaster. They have a heavy machine gun and shock mines, heavy pistol DACC weapon for 48 points and 1.5 SWC. They have a heavy shotgun and crazy koala for 42 points and 0 SWC. They have a red fury, pulsar, crazy koala, and tinbot firewall -3 for 47 points and 1 SWC. A heavy rocket launcher, light shotgun, and crazy koala for 42 points and 1.5 SWC. And a lieutenant option of the Red Fury, Pulsar, Crazy Koala, and Tinbot Firewall -3 for 47 points and 1 SWC. No discount there for the LT. I think these guys are good, better than the Observant.
Yes.
Definitely
Oh,
better
yes.
than the Observant.
What a safe thing to say, Josh. Well done.
No one is going to be upset
Uh,
at you for that opinion.
Well,
How to not drive engagement.
Mr.
There's at least-
Likeability over here.
That's me.
there's 2 links that can go in Bakunin. One is their own, and then one is the Riot Girls. Um, I said they're core link viable in that points wise. They can definitely do it. I'm kind of on the fence of whether it would be worth it to break purity in a Riot Girl or when the Riot Girls can put in a few wild cards to round them out.
Yeah.
It does also have like the neat option where it makes the Morlocks
Yes.
regular, so it's sort of, but it itself isn't cheap enough to really make you want to do that as a cost-saving measure like you do in something like Morats or Wipeout Army. So, you know.
Well, you could also look at it as that's part of its, like, it is expensive, but for 12 points, it makes its own Haris and gives you 2 extra regular orders. So,
yeah.
that I think that could be seen as a way to balance out its points.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in its loadouts. I think that the most attractive one there might be the heavy rocket launcher for me. I'm not entirely certain about what people play, but I think heavy rocket launcher for me is the one that I would play. It's a bit cheaper. It still packs a light shotgun, still packs a crazy koala.
Yep.
And it has that really nice template option. I don't think in Bakunin I'm taking a heavy machine gun on a
I see them
Taskmaster.
around.
I think the problem with sorry,
they're definitely like a unit that you will sort of just see someone taking it, and you won't generally question it too much if you see it in a list. Like if I see someone play a Penitent, I'm like, "Ooh, what choices were made here?"
That's Penitent Observants are purely played in observance lists.
Yeah, I think the issue with the heavy machine gun is that it has shock mines and not a crazy koala like every other profile. And that, but looking at the profiles, I think I agree the heavy rocket launcher is good. I would be tempted to look at the Red Fury as a way to escort Morlocks, Zellenkriegers, or Den McConnelly up the board.
Yep.
Totally.
Not that they need much escorting, but
Yeah, especially not that much escorting is needed, but certainly do.
Well, more order efficiency, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but do it cheaper with the heavy rocket launcher. Yeah, great. They're fine. Better than the Observant.
Yep.
Not as good as the. Oh no, definitely better than the Cruiser Warrior. Oh, I don't know. It's hard. It's not really a place for the old for nomads. I don't think that's not really where they shine. If you really want to pit the big boys on the table, go for it. Otherwise, yeah, don't bother.
They kind of also just get lost in Bakunin because like especially with the new updates, Bakunin they have almost like a small, like a minor faction's worth of models in them.
Yeah, yeah. They have a lot of, especially with all the new additions with
Yeah.
with the Nomads. Nomads feasted on the reinforcements update, so
Nomad's got so many good things.
yeah, fantastic. Then we'll move on to Combined Army. This is where Jordan and I like to splash around. The first one is the Kaitok, whose home sectorial is the Morat Aggression Force. Their max link is core. They are definitely full core viable. They max pure link is a core, and are they pure link viable? You're playing Morat, so yes. Kaitok Shock Regiment is a veteran troop. Move 6-2. Hallelujah.
Sir.
CC 16, BS 12, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 3, 2 wounds, and ADA 3. Ballistic skill attack, special skills, ballistic skill attack, +1 damage, dodge, +2 inches. They frenzy, they are immunity shock, and they are religious troops and veteran like every other Morat profile. They have 4 loadouts. Hey, you got that one right. Kaitok, chain rifle +2 burst, and a Flammenspiel with a heavy pistol +1 burst and a CC weapon for 22 points. A heavy rocket launcher for 24 points and 1.5 SWC. A Feuerback that packs some MSV level 1 for 36 points and 1.5 SWC. And a Breaker Combi Rifle Emarat for 31 points and 0 SWC. Quote unquote, the one that nobody takes.
You
Um,
have 4 profiles, but really you have
we
3
have 3
profiles.
profiles.
At some point, I want to try to see what I can do with that profile, just
jam it in the list.
because. Correct. Well, because it's the only Emerat in Moritz.
Sure.
There you go. And they have a sort of dearth of template options in the
What?
in the link. In that link, in the Morat's link, you get Kaitox and you get
Oh, in the link specifically.
you get Kaitox and you get Kornak, and that's about it. I mean, you might get a boarding shotgun on a Vanguard or something.
If you're a Haris, you've got like the option of like a Zabut as well, who has like
Yeah.
a million fucking templates.
Yeah. Like these guys are phenomenal. You
Yep.
see them in
Yeah.
almost every Morat list. Sometimes you see 2. Yeah.
I've seen them unlinked in Morat lists, and they're still phenomenal.
They're great. They're great.
There's very few models where I am more concerned when I don't think there is a single other model in the game that I am more concerned when it is like inside of 8 inches of a model of mine, because it has a million options.
Yep.
It's either going to lay down damage 14 chain rifles on top of me. It's either going to shoot me with a HMG that is good to 8 inches with that heavy pistol. And then it's not even bad at range either, because it's got a Flammen that is damage 15 template. And if it decides, fuck it, I'm gonna walk into CC with you, it's still got
Burst 2.
burst 2 in CC. Like,
Yeah.
it presents very few good options, and it doesn't even care if it walks into a hacking net because it's a veteran, and all they can do is fucking Carbonite, which they are likely to be able to do just because of that BTS 3. But taking away the option of removing it from a link is huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're great. I don't think there's anything more to say about Kaitox other than they're great, and you should take them if you're playing Morats.
Yeah, I banged on a lot about the 22-point profile. The 24-point is very, very good as a sort of cheaper HRL option if you can't afford the Suryat with MSV1. I try to afford the Suryat. The MSV1 Feuerback as well is also fantastic. I like it in a Haris team, personally, because it completes a bunch. It helps contribute to a Haris team that can complete, like, the majority of the classified deck.
If not all of it.
It's very close to all of it. You can build it. And again, all of them come with that heavy pistol +1 burst as well. So no matter what you're doing, you're getting that fucking like burst 4 damage 15 heavy pistol in a link.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. I've been finding the HRL I run fairly often in my core as the second, like as the arrow piece. just because like it's 24 points and it could actually take a bullet or two and before it has to go prone. The
Before it has to
Feuerbach,
try to go prone.
yeah, try to go prone. The Feuerbach, I haven't really found much of a place for it yet because it's the same as the Suryat
Yeah,
HRL.
it fights for airspace with the Suryat
Yeah,
very, very roughly.
yeah.
The 22.1, you put that basically anywhere you want. Like, it's
Oh,
fantastic in a core link to defend
mhm,
defend the core link itself. It's fantastic in a Haris team.
mhm,
Two of them in a Haris team being led by an Anyat is a fantastic sort of attack Haris that can move up the table, push some buttons, and then you can leave the Anyat behind and just dump two Kaitoks in your opponent's deployment zone and
yep,
just go, this is your problem now.
yeah. And
So
they're
yeah.
still linked, so they won't frenzy.
Yeah, and even solo, they're completely viable as well because
Yeah.
they're 6'2", dodge
Mhm,
plus 2 inches. If you're willing to take the
mhm,
risk on the Fizz 14, you can just dodge them to tag movement.
mhm.
Always take the risk on the Fizz
Oh
14.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Some people are cowards, Josh.
I'm not one of them.
Absolutely not.
Saga Rats also at home in the Morat Aggressive Force. The Max Link is a duo, which makes the rest of that null and void. The Sograt Tempest Regiment also up there with one of the best names in the game. Headquarters troops, they move for 4. Boo CC 21, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 6, BTS 6, 2 wounds, AVA 3, special skills, ballistic attack plus 1 damage, CC attack plus 1 damage, immunity shock, no wound incapacitation, religious troop, and a veteran. They have 2 profiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
They have
have
2
two
profiles
profiles repeated ad nauseum.
repeated 3 times. They have a AP Heavy Machine Gun Pulsar for 56 points and 1.5 SWC, and a Feuerback plus 1 burst and a Pulsar for 60 points and 1.5 SWC, and NCO and Lieutenant profiles for both of those loadouts, and the add-on points, NCO costs too. Yeah.
Going
Well,
from a very high to a very, very low.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
best thing
Like,
I have used my Sograt for is that I use the one from the Morat, the base old starter kit. I use that as my Kaitok with Feuerback.
Fair enough. These guys were like the Kreezer Borak were used to be a full auto profile that got less things than the Kreezer Borak did out of their full auto. Unfortunately, they don't pack the BS Tech plus 1 burst, and they don't pack the mimetism. So um, even more prime at home
Yeah,
for the Sograt.
it's just so rough, especially in Morats, where
mhm,
if you could link this, like even in just a Haris, there'd
yeah.
be some arguments for it because it's a source of AP in a faction that struggles outside of its 2 tags for AP, but it's linkable. It'd be linkable AP, but on its own, it's just so hard to sort of look at it and go, this is like 10 points cheaper than a tag.
Mhm.
I kind of just want to take the tag instead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's on paper they actually look pretty good until you look at them in the faction,
Yes.
and then you compare them to all the other options, and
Yep.
you realize that they can't link.
Yep.
Um,
No, there's
yeah,
nothing.
I think I agree. They had if they could link and like their own separate Haris, don't give them a core. I'm fine with that, but give them a Haris, and I think they're now viable in that they will compete for space in the list.
You could
Uh,
honestly give them a core and they still wouldn't be a problem. They're BS13. Like
yeah,
they're not getting up to that like really scary 17 number. They're like locked to the same number as a
mhm,
Suryat without the MSV.
yeah. I think another way you could approach them is bump them to BS 14,
Yep.
and that I think that might give them competition to be in lists even without a link.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You could make the lieutenant profiles a bit cheaper as well.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so many ways you can sort of turn the knob and dial on this profile to
Mhm.
make it more interesting.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, I can't find a use for it in Morats, and I especially struggle to find a use for it in vanilla combined, where the options are just so much better.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
the
in
only
vanilla, it starts to point wise. It's starting to compete with the Carotid.
It's competing with aspects.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
speaking of aspects,
Yes.
let's move on
I mean,
to the Charented.
the
Uh,
reason you guys asked me to be on this episode, you mean?
what? No, the reason we asked you to be on this episode is because Tristan wasn't available.
Ah!
The old second choice John. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Ah!
Very much the Caronted is definitely
Self-esteem.
very much the Caronted is definitely the one of the big reasons you're here. As
Fantastic.
being being a being a Caronted player. Home sectorial is vanilla, obviously. The Carontids are they don't have any link team options. The Carontids
No.
are headquarters troops. They move 4/4, CC 17, BS 14, Fizz 13, Whip 16, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, and AVA 1. Courage, special skills, courage, immunity shock, no incapacitation, and mnemonica. You'll have to look that one up if you don't know what it is.
If you've played Mass Effect 2, they assume direct control.
There you go, done. They have a wealth of profiles. The Caronted has 2 MSV3 loadouts, with one with a plasma rifle nanopulsar for 69 points, one with a heavy machine gun nanopulsar for 70 points, 1.5 SWC.
And those are repeated as lieutenant profiles with an
Yep.
SWC discount.
There you go. We have a plasma rifle Seps at a plus 10 bot, which is assuming direct control of your enemy's forces. 10 bot firewall -3 for 64 points and half an SWC. They have a lieutenant profile for that one for SWC discount.
Yep.
And they have a Hacking Device Plus upgrade +1 damage, Plasma Rifle Nanopulsar for 63 points and half an SWC. You can have a lieutenant of that as well for no discount. And then there is a lieutenant
It
+1
does not
order.
need a discount.
Does not need a discount. And you also get a lieutenant +1 order for with a plasma rifle and a Sepsida Plus for 67 points.
Yeah.
Look, Caronteds go in every half. A third of combined army lists.
Good players put Carontids in their lists. I will start fights over this.
Yes.
Sometimes you put it in Avatar
Yes. Well,
or
no.
both.
Sometimes people put it in anathematics. There's a bunch of arguments over
Yeah.
what the best
Hey.
of vanilla is. Some people,
uh,
some people who are especially special, think that they are Skiavoros mains.
I am a Skiavoros main, and I will die on that hill.
Yes.
I won't. Whatever. Carontids are great. Look, MSV3 is a hell of a drug, and that for the heavy machine gun, bloody great profile. If you want a full breakdown of why Carontids are good, go watch any of Rob Cantrell's combined army videos.
Yeah. Yeah, generally speaking, you're taking these as a lieutenant. But if you don't take them as a lieutenant, mnemonica still happens. So you can still give a hacker a upgrade to Whip 16
Yep.
if it dies. But the reason why you don't get any sort of discount for lieutenant profiles is just because mnemonica as a skill with if you're the lieutenant basically just makes loss of lieutenant not work. Unless they brick you, but if they brick you, you still have a Caronted, and it's Whip 16. There are a few models that will reset out of being bricked as well as something like a Caronted.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, you're looking at 2 profiles that are really the standout for the lieutenant, which is your heavy machine gun with the MSV3, and the hacking device plus upgrade +1 damage. Having a marker state's huge.
Yeah, very good. There's not much to say about Carontids other than they're great.
Yeah, they're just fantastic. If you're playing vanilla combined. Player aspects, they're so good.
The aspects are fantastic.
What's your opinion on the Scepter Plus profiles?
I think it's interesting. It's definitely not something I've really experimented.
Mhm.
I like my Caronted to have sort of reach,
Mhm.
and you don't really get reach with the Sepsitter Plus because it's sort of stapled to a plasma rifle.
Mhm.
Like with the MSV3, you've got the reach of the fact that you've got a 32-inch gun, and with
Mhm.
the hacking device, you've got the reach of your your like excellent network projection as a
Mhm.
faction.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're still 4/4 movement, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The best Sepsitter Plus user is, I think, the Skiavoros because you're Silhouette too.
Yeah.
Um,
Or the
uh,
Avatar.
I mean the Avatar.
Oh yeah.
We're not talking about the Avatar.
No.
We don't talk about Bruno. Look, I think, yeah, like John just said, the Sepsitter Plus is just lacks reach, and that's not what you want your Caronted to
Yeah.
do. Plus, it just doesn't do anything. It provides
Yeah.
a +1 order lieutenant option.
Yeah, like, are you sort of gonna be throwing it forward? Like,
Mhm.
again, that's a lot of orders to move it very slowly up the table. And
Mhm.
if you're gonna Sepsit a plus something, it's, you know, you're gonna take hits in response, and you're armor 5, so you're probably
Mhm.
not gonna take a lot of wounds. It's good for defending itself, basically, but I think that
Yeah.
being able to go into a marker state with the hacking device plus on your turn is probably a better self defense. And the MSV3 is just sort of you're not able to access something like a marker state. You're relying on the moniker to
Mhm.
sort of discourage stage
Yeah.
diving a lieutenant.
Yeah. And I suppose it's a lot of points to pay to protect something who's paying points to protect itself.
Yep,
Absolutely.
what a
All
good boy.
right. A very good boy. And this is a not an S5, but a special mention because I don't think we could talk about the Caronted without talking about the Anathematic, who once again is an aspect, so it's only in vanilla and doesn't have any link options. The Anathematics are headquarters troops. They are move 4/4, CC 19, ballistic skill 13, Fizz 13, whip 16, armor 5, BTS 6. They are 2 wounds. They are silhouette 6, which makes them a special mention, and AVA 1. Their special skills are camouflage, courage, hidden deployment, immunity shock, mimetism -6, mnemonica, no wound incapacitation, stealth, and surprise attack -3. They have profiles. Plasma rifle nanopulsar for 71 points, a Spitfire nanopulsar for 70 points, and 1.5 FWC. A plasma rifle Sepsitter nanopulsar for 77 points and half an SWC. A hacking device plus upgrade Trinity +1 burst. Plasma rifle Pulsar for 77 points and half an SWC. The lieutenant, just normal plasma rifle nanopulsar for 71 points, and the lieutenant hacker for 77 points and half an SWC. You know what? I just looked at those profiles, and I saw something I've never seen before. Because you only ever
Monofilament.
see it was the monofilament CC weapons.
Yeah,
No,
Monofilament CC weapons on
the
any feeding
monofilament is on all the profiles that aren't
hackers,
hackers.
which is why I've never seen it, because you don't take anything that's not a hacker.
Yeah.
very funny.
Um, these are talked about in the same breath as the Caronted as being the premier lieutenants in Combined Army, though the hacker especially is where it is at. I don't see any reason why you would take literally any other profile here.
Pretty much. It's the same situation of it doesn't have the projection option that Caronta does with the HMG. You're relying on the albeit exceptional network projection that you get inside of Combined Army.
Mhm.
Yeah. Plus the marker state and the mutation -6 makes it win gunfights really nicely. It is still 2 wounds and no incapacitation with the moniker. You can Rambo this piece up the board if you really so desire. It will kill a lot of things before it goes down. And even if you want to, you can just walk it into an opponent's hacking network and go, ha, here's burst 4 Trinity. I'm still on 16s.
Yeah.
Um,
Objectively, it's safer as a lieutenant than the Caronta just because it starts in the marker state.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
just more expensive.
it is. It's compare the hacker Caronta to the hacker anathematic. It's a full 14 points of difference. That's 2 full tigers. Yeah, it's if you want to include the anathematic, you're making concessions elsewhere in the list. but you're absolutely getting like one of the two apex profiles in Combined Army in exchange. One of the three, I'd say. 3 apex profiles in Combined Army.
Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on from Combined Army, we move into their polar opposites, which is Ajax, and they're polar opposites because there is only, which is Aleph, because there's only one super heavy infantry in Aleph, and that is Ajax, whose home sectorial is Steel Phalanx. He can core, 4-man core. He is full core viable. He is pure link is a core, only 4 members, and pure link viable. Yes, of course, it is still Phalanx after all. Ajax the Great Myrmidon Officer is a character. He is move 4/4 with CC 24, BS 13, Fizz 16, Whip 12, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, and AVA 1. Special skills, we've got the list. Berserk +3, BS attack +1 damage, BS attack +1 burst, courage, dodge +2 inches, immunity shock, impetuous, martial arts level 3, mimetism -3, natural born warrior, no incapacitation, and stuff. He's got 2 loadouts. They're both the same, basically. We have for 39 points, you get a fire team option with a combi rifle and a nanopulsar, AP heavy pistol, and explosive CC weapon. If you want to pay 7 points more and not have him in a fire team, you can have a forward deployment +8 inches, same profile. I've done lots of things with Ajax. He is a lot of fun, but he does one thing, and that is punch people in the face real hard.
Yeah, that impetuous is pulling a lot of weights with the points on that profile.
Yeah, it's doing a lot. It's probably pulling it a good 15 points down on Ajax.
Plus the fact that the BS
yeah.
attack +1 damage, BS attack +1 burst are going onto either a combi rifle or a AP heavy pistol, so it's not as impactful as it would be on someone with an like SWC weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It is still inside of a link, essentially a Spitfire with the burst. But it is just a combi rifle. It is a damage 14 combi rifle, but it is at the end of the day just a combi rifle.
Nah, it's a short range Spitfire. It's like it's a +1 damage, +1 burst combi rifle, whether he's solo or not. I think that it's very very reasonable that you could say that. I think it's unreasonable to call this just a combi rifle. He's a BS 13, mimetism -3 person. Yes, he's impetuous and can't take cover, but he gunfights with the best of them.
He's a very good combi rifle.
Yeah, very good combi rifle.
He's a very good combi rifle. He's not in the list of combi rifle things though. He's in the list of punch, and he punches exceptionally well.
Yeah, it's probably up there with the some of the best CC units in the game. Martial arts level, it's high CC attack, martial arts level 3, and natural born warrior combine all together to make and berserk +3, I guess, combine together to make a very attractive package for using CC. Like Damaru in JSA, he CC attacks on 30s with his berserk, so you are often critting with that mammoth damage 18 explosive CC weapon. Real big.
Yeah. It's wild.
He
punches so exceptionally fucking hard. Yeah, he's really, really great.
Yeah. Although the stat I like best on him is the whip 12.
Yeah.
Because he can be perma-bricked.
He can be perma-bricked.
Brick the shit out of this man. You can reduce him to being completely dead in the fucking water.
And if Aleph players, Steel Phalanx players, or vanilla players are paying 46 points for Ajax, they often aren't paying for an engineer. So, brick the shit out of him. Do it. It happens to the best of us.
No, it is. Yeah. Ajax is fantastic. Like, there's very little bad. Look, he's one of the profiles in Steel Phalanx that sort of play into weaknesses the faction otherwise doesn't possess with being hackable. And I'd say that since the Steel Phalanx update, there's more sort of air to be fought for in Ajax's position, because Uteros and Hippolyta's glow-ups as profiles have both made them sort of look at the spot that Ajax sits in and start making Steel Phalanx players ask some very reasonable questions about which one is more important to a list and weighing up the cost-benefit.
Yeah. I mean, Ajax has the added benefit of being an absolutely fire model, so
Yes.
you know,
He does.
he's good. I like Ajax. He's real good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toha. Flash
You
Spiral.
like these guys, Josh.
The Keelsan, the Spiral Core, Home Sectorial Spiral Core. They are available in Toha, but they can't harass.
They can't link at all in Toha.
In Spiral Core, they can harass, and so the rest of that is not relevant. They are the Keelsan Covert Assault Unit, which is also a name that I really love. They're veteran troops, move 6-2, CC 21, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 12, Armor 4, BTS 6, 2 wounds, AVA 3. They have special skills Berserk, CC Attack Shock. They are courageous, Immunity Shock, Martial Arts Level 2, Meta Chemistry, Natural Born Warrior, Stealth, Transmutation, Wounds. They have an Invactive Symbiont Armor variant, which is unique about them. After they've taken 2 wounds, they become Move 4/4, CC 21, BS 12, Fizz 12, Whip 12, 0 armor and BTS, and they are 1 wound and Silhouette 2. They bring all of the same special skills, apart from the transmutation, obviously. They pack 2 profiles. We've got a Red Fury Panzerfaust heavy pistol DACC weapon for 46 points and 1.5 SWC, and a Mark 12 Panzerfaust for 46 points and 0 SWC. And then a little bonus note: the bonus provided by Metachemistry are provided to both unit profiles, in case you were wondering. Yes. Yes, you're well right. I do like the Keelsan. I have put them on the table while playing Spiral Core. They are a lot of fun to play. However, are they good?
Not in. I'd say probably not in Toha, but in Spiral Core, they're definitely something to look at, right?
There's something to look at.
I feel having reviewed them right after Ajax, they kind of feel like a slightly worse version of Ajax that has a gun, but the same hacking problems of the Ratnik.
Interesting to note, once they lose their symbiote armor, they become light infantry and lose the hackable nature. So you can just sort of berserk around with them, which is kind of fun. Metachemistry opens up a really nice thing. They can get +3 Fizz and regeneration, or just regeneration. Regeneration can happen at any time. You don't have to be unconscious, which means that they're one of the few things that can actually power back up to full wounds after they've taken one. So they can take a wound in their symbiont armor and pretty reliably take a Fizz 14 roll, or if you've rolled the +3 Fizz, get a Fizz 17 roll, and go, oh, you know what, I'm just going to power back up to 2 wounds and hold on to my symbiont armor at the end of my turn. Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, because their transmutation is quite different than a lot of other models, where it changes their size, it changes their unit type, and it also removes hackable from them. They're just kind of this weird wild card for like scenarios, like zone scoring. You take 2 wounds, you go to your size 2. Now you can hide them better, but they're still worth 46 points in the zone. But now you can't complete objectives that they could do when they were heavy infantry. Yeah.
So you do those objectives first, and then you then you go and sit beside a HVT and prone and score it, because it's an S2 that's not hackable now. Yeah, they're fine.
It's very. Look, I'm Marge with the fucking potato. I just think they're neat.
They're neat.
I mean,
their
other?
Their model's great too. They have such a
Yeah.
cool model. They have two very cool models.
Yeah, their models are very,
What?
very cool.
So, what other faction thinks covert and increases the size of their model?
It's a very Toha thing to do.
We made it bigger.
Bigger with stealth. Very stealthy. They're very, very sneaky. Here we go. Time for my sandpit.
Oh boy.
JSA. The JSA unique one, of course, everybody, is the Diokai. They can core. They are full core viable, sure. They don't have a pure link. They're not pure link viable because CB refused to write a samurai keyword. The bastards.
How dare they?
Diokai Dengekitai. Headquarters troops move 4/4, CC 21, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 13, armor 5, BTS 3, 2 wounds, and AVA 1. They have ballistic skill attack plus 1 damage, courage, immunity shock, martial arts level 2, NCO, no incapacitation, and stealth. They pack 2 profiles: a multi-marksman rifle and Panzerfaust with a pistol and an APDA CC weapon for 48 points, and a Red Fury Panzerfaust with the same CC weapons for 1 SWC and 49 points. I like the Diokai. I think there's a common meme in JSA chats with JSA players discussing Karakuri and having them all sitting in a round table and having a good solid discussion, and then JSA players discussing the Diokai and they're literally all just fighting each other.
How do we feel about sex bots? Okay, how do we feel about the samurai bot?
Yeah, look, model's great, fantastic model. Bit of a bitch to put together, but he is fun. He's actually probably the model that one of the models that got me into the game. Him and the Tankos.
Yeah, tankos are sick.
They are very sexy. Yeah. Look, he doesn't have quite the home in JSA that I think he really should. I think he's actually a bit better in Akari. Because he can link with the Tankos in Akari. But I have found a lot of success, some success with the Diokai linked with a couple of Kusotsus flavored with your choice of specialists, because he can point men for the Kusotsus, which was changed in the Fire Team update. So yeah, he's fun.
Yeah, he's
fun. I like putting him
totally
on the
viable.
table.
Again, he's got the JSA problem, right? Where like punching through armor isn't always super easy, and he sort of alleviates that a little bit with that multi-marksman rifle plus 1 damage.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the multi-marksman rifle
I'd be very
profile.
surprised if
That's
the
the one I
Red
take.
Fury the tabletop more than the multi-marksman.
It's like the Red Fury is reasonable because it's a slightly cheaper Spitfire because of the +1 damage, and only just costing 1 SWC. You still pack a Panzerfaust. I mean, I've killed tags with the Panzerfaust in just one volley, and often with JSA they're quite expensive lists. So you often see a baggage bot in a JSA list. So
Yeah,
reloading Panzerfaust isn't that unheard of.
it's an option.
It is an option. It's there. They're fine. He's fun to put him on the table. He's good fun.
Yeah, for sure.
He lacks a template.
Yeah, the lacking a template's rough because there's nothing to really defend him if something gets too close, but doesn't walk into CC.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, he can.
I could hear you like start talking to say, but he punch.
He still dodges on a 14, so he can dodge towards people, and if they come close to him, but he just sort of aggressively just dodges towards people. That's all he does.
Yeah. Well, it's especially rough as well because he doesn't have any bonus to his dodge movement.
No, the movements are a bit lacking. He does stealth around. He does martial arts things. He does have NCO, so you can take those slightly worse the slightly non-active LT profiles and still have access to that order.
I definitely prefer. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I definitely prefer when NCO is sort of just an option and not baked into the profile.
Mm.
But we can't have everything in life, unfortunately. So sometimes you just sort of look at that NCO and you'll sometimes be wasting it, but it's nice to have.
Yeah, I've got a list with this guy leading a Kasotsu like Haris, and having the Damaru Lieutenant Spitfire solo, the plus one order Damaru, because I actually really like that piece solo, and so it's a lot of fun. And so when it goes down, you've got like cheap access to chain of command, but you can also use the NCO orders if you need to. Okay. Moving on from Dioso and Dioka, and we're into our last faction, and certainly not least. We've got O12.
Of course not.
Our first one is the Gamma unit, whose home sectorial is only in vanilla. He can duo, which is fun, but doesn't mean that the rest of that means kind of meh. Whatever. The Gamma unit is an elite troop. He moves 6'2". He's CC 16, BS 14, Fizz 14, Whip 13, Armor 6, BTS 6, 2 wounds, and AVA 2, ballistic skill attack +1 burst, courage, immunity shock, and no incapacitation. He's got 2 profiles that become lieutenants as well. Heavy machine gun, 53 points and 1.5 SWC, and a feuerback for 54 points and 1.5 SWC. And lieutenant profiles provide no discount. Don't really see these guys super often. Certainly not the lieutenants. There are much better lieutenant profiles in Vanilla 012, but I'm not a super experienced player with O12. Got a feuerback.
Only feuerback in the faction.
Whee.
And it's a +1 burst feuerback, so
yeah,
not bad.
He brings that full armor 6 as well, which is kind of fun.
He is a full midi tag.
Yeah.
2.5 wounds, armor 6, BTS 6, BS 14. He's
also got that ballistic skill attack +1 burst as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that feuerback is actually a legitimate, option.
He does need to compete with a very, very good in-faction tag, though, is part of the issue.
The Wrecker?
Yes.
Well,
Josh. Yes. The Wrecker.
Both the Wrecker and the Zeta. The Wrecker he overlaps in points with.
Yeah.
And then, Zeta's Zeta.
Zeta's a Zeta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like these guys are fun.
Yeah. It almost it feels like he was their light tag option, and then they got the Wrecker.
And then they got the Wrecker. Yeah. Wrecker's great.
It's very meat and potatoes infinity of a profile. Like very little in the way of bells and whistles.
But I think that's kind of the point of O12 as well. You know, you're there to just provide like a bit of hammer, and the Gamma is that hammer.
It's got all the right words on it, right? It's got the 6'2", it's BS 14. Those are both very important. It's armor 6, so it's better against the non-armor piercing. BTS 6, like exactly what you want. The BS tag +1 burst means that even though you can't link it, you still get essentially link bonuses.
It still doesn't spark so much joy. I mean,
literally the only thing it's missing is just AP next to that heavy machine gun, and it would be just fantastic.
I see the Omega much more often. You know, with the mimetism. Yeah, mimetism.
M6, baby.
Mimetism does apparently way more work than BS tag +1 burst. So,
I think that the math works that one out, doesn't it?
Yeah. +1 burst is about an extra +3.
Yeah, it's weird. But it's diminishing, whereas bonus BS isn't.
Yeah. All right, and possibly the most mentioned S5 in this podcast is
only when I'm on.
Is the Silver Star Prime? I meant this particular episode. The Silver Star Prime, who is actually the Silver Star Prime that we go out and bought at McDonald's drive-thru, is home sectorial is Torchlight Brigade. He max link core. Is he full core viable? Yes, he is. He doesn't have a pure link, so meh. Silver Star Prime is a headquarters troop. Move 6-2, CC 18, BS 14, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Armor 5, BTS 9, 2 wounds, and AVA 2. He has MSV 1 and special skills, BS attack -3, CC attack +1 damage, courage, immunity shock, and tactical awareness. Primes have one loadout that has a lieutenant option, a heavy machine gun +1 damage, and a riot stopper, heavy pistol shock CC weapon for 53 points and 1.5 SWC. Take the lieutenant, you knock half an SWC off that cost.
And you have Ments.
Yeah. Primes are good.
They are good.
Primes are good. Very much the
Learn how to play against them, though.
last and not least, I'm probably going to say they might be the best S5.
Nah. Carontids.
You reckon Carontids?
I reckon the Carontids.
How about the best linkable S5?
There you go. Yeah, well, I mean,
well,
easy.
the Kaito does so many things, though.
That's true.
The Kaito
Yeah.
has so many options.
True.
Like
Yeah,
the Prime applies gun at 32 inches.
Yes.
That's its one thing. The Kaito does a bunch of extra things and is cheaper across the board.
The thing about the Prime is that it's kind of happy gunfighting at any range.
Yeah, sure.
Because that BS attack -3 just makes opponents cry a little bit.
Yeah.
He's so linkable. Like, so linkable.
Yeah.
Like, you're paying an extra, what, minimum 30 points for a Haris on top of his profile. With
Honestly,
an
I would just take 2 Harises. Like, have a Prime leading each Haris team. Like, that helps alleviate, like, the issue of gun in Torchlight,
yeah.
where people
Yeah.
tend to sometimes only take 1 gun. But
Yeah.
then you're sort of fighting for airspace with the Stormbot, so I don't know. I don't know what the correct option is. Silver Star Prime is quite good though, but
Just like their unit logo, got a big number 1. They are number 1. They're fantastic.
yep, they're very good.
I think it works, but let me ask you guys: the BS attack -3 would affect dodge rolls against the heavy riot stopper?
Yep.
It would, yes.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't. Sorry, my apologies. It doesn't. -3 only applies in face-to-face rolls and dodge rolls and normal rolls against templates.
Gotcha.
Not face-to-face. Yeah, you're not face-to-facing anything. So the -3 only applies to face-to-face rolls. And you can quote me. Do it. Get in the comments.
You're probably correct. I tend to trust you when it comes to rulings.
You shouldn't have. I've been wrong twice this episode.
Hasn't it only once?
I
When was the
don't
other
know.
time you were wrong?
I don't
I thought
know.
it was just the bioimmunity thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Silver Star Primes are like a genuinely very, very good piece. Again, I feel like there was a lot of bar humbug about how hard they were to sort of shift, but then people kind of started realizing that at the end of the day, it's just a heavy machine gun. So you just shoot it with like your BS-14 tag, and eventually it's going to start losing fights, and it doesn't stand up to tag gunfire.
No. It doesn't.
And also Oblivion is still putting it on
Yeah.
ETS 5 or 4, whichever one it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like they're definitely killable. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
They're a lot
very
more
strong.
killable than people thought they were.
Yeah, they're just a very safe gunfight, I think.
They're an exceptionally safe gun type. Like, you're never going to feel bad. You will rarely ever feel bad taking a fight with a Silver Star Prime.
Absolutely.
They definitely made people look up. It's like, do I have white noise? I think I might have white noise.
That's true.
This profile more than any other has made me look at factions and go, white noise, white noise, white noise.
Yeah, okay. Yes, no, they're great. They're fine. They're good. They're really good.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I don't think there's really much more to say about these this unit set of profiles. They are a very fun addition to the game. All of the models look sick as fuck. Sorry, I'm contractually obligated by Kevin to put at least 3 swear words in an
You
episode.
have to.
So
I definitely like that in 2 of the last 3 action packs, the sort of the S5 model has had a lot of like interesting design knobs and dials kind of turned on it to make it kind of a very compelling profile. Whereas a lot of them you would see it was just, oh, it's just a tag, but not quite a tag. I
yeah,
like that there is a lot of knobs and dials being turned.
it's forcing people to reach for them when they kind of the rest of the S5s tend to be just a little too bloated, and like a little too bloated, and just not something that really needs to be reached for. They don't have that. They don't have something to sort of oomph them forward a little bit. Which, and you're right. So having the Kaitok, the Penitent Observer less so, but and then the Prime, as a sort of interesting design space tends to has definitely pushed them up there.
Well, with both of them, they've been narrowing in on the size of the toolkit, so they're not getting the like bloat that like the Alpha Sid with multiple grenade launchers and a heavy machine gun.
Yeah. They're also
But
realizing
they've
they can make
also
them
been
cheap.
expanding what role they can play in the army.
Yeah.
Yeah, realizing
Uh,
that they can make them cheap was probably like
yes.
a big moment of like, oh, we can make these affordable. Like being S5 is a cost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is absolutely. S5 is sort of just an excuse to strap a bunch of armor onto something. Used to be
Yeah.
anyway,
Like,
or to make an elite sort of heavy infantry. But that's sort of beginning to change, and well, I'd love to see what plans they have for more in the future. I really wish that they'd migrated the Azrael boarding shotgun over. Is a boarding shotgun or heavy shotgun from reinforcements
yeah,
over
that was a
Yeah.
really cool profile.
over to QK. Would have been super interesting if that was actually in the faction, and not just available in reinforcements. It's kind of sad that it's only available in reinforcements, but we can't have everything we want. And did I really want it? Probably not. Azrael, Special Turrets Group Azrael have a heavy shotgun and an AP Spitfire. Both of those profiles would be fantastic additions.
Yeah,
Um,
for
to the Azrael, and they're cheap. They were cheap, and that's probably why they didn't add them in.
They'd have to balance the points differently because I think the reinforcements also takes into account that they're not going to be on the table as long, and the
Except every other
deployment
profile.
options are
Except every other profile was added in with no change to their profiles, no
Okay.
change to their points costs. So
except the Swiss guard that Trent wants, the one that punches. That wasn't added in.
that wasn't added in either. Oh
No.
well, come on, CB, give us something we want.
I don't know why that one wasn't added in. It's super cool.
It's very cool.
It's not great, but it's really cool.
Yeah, like it's cool that you can have like that's design space where you have the CC +9. Then again, we're digressing now and getting tangential. Final
That's okay.
thoughts about this episode. We love S5s. Chuck them on the table. They're super cool.
Yeah.
They're super fun to play with. And put a prime on the table, I guess.
Yes, sir.
And have fun.
Always worth it.
Thank you very much, Jordan, for jumping on and being a special guest for this one. Always happy to have you and happy to hear from you.
Thanks for having me. Been really good talking to you guys again.
Our absolute pleasure. And thanks everybody for listening. This has been A Loss of Lieutenant, and I've been Josh.
I've been Nick.
And I've been Jordan.
And good night, everybody.
Good night.